And there we are. And welcome everyone to this session today on an overview of Canvas. We're going to take a look at the learning management system used at the San Diego Community College District for online and web-enhanced courses, which includes every course at the district, at least through the end of fall term at this point. So Canvas is a tool that we're all going to need to be using. And this session's designed to give you the nickel tour. We'll hit the high spots. We can't go into great detail on it, much of anything, until we get to the question period at the end. There's a lot of material in this session, so I'm going to get going as quickly as I can here. But I will take questions at the end, which will probably be at the end, about 2 hours. And then I will answer any questions you have. You may put those in the chat tool if you like to get them, because I'll go there first when I start answering questions at the end of the session. Until then, I'm going to have to move through the tulips pretty quickly here, tiptoeing or otherwise. So let's get started. If, however, you are having any trouble hearing me or seeing what I'm talking about, please let me know immediately, and I will take such corrective action as I can. Hopefully that won't be a problem, but I certainly don't want to leave anybody behind because they can't see what I'm doing. I'll be sharing my screen most of the day, so let me go ahead and do that. And here's a little overview of what we're going to do today. I'll start off talking about the Canvas interface and how to navigate courses. First off, we'll talk about how to access Canvas. We'll go back that far, how to log in, what your default usernames and passwords are. I may have to, at this point, you're getting a little background noise, so I'm probably going to have to mute everyone, but I've left you the right to unmute yourself. Down in the lower left-hand corner of your Zoom menu, you'll find a mute, unmute button. All right. And then we'll talk about the Canvas interface, how to navigate Canvas, how to move around in a course. But we'll spend most of our time talking about how to start building your Canvas course, putting content into your Canvas course, putting assessments into your Canvas course, communicating with your students through Canvas, and things like this. Canvas is, as a learning management system, is primarily an asynchronous tool. That is, it gives you the opportunity to put content into Canvas and then have your students view that content on their own schedule. Unlike Zoom, where normally you'd be in a Zoom meeting at the same time, a synchronous interaction. With Canvas, you can interact asynchronously. You can provide content that your students can view and read and absorb on their own schedule. Canvas will also allow you to perform assessments, which you can't really do in Zoom, usually. You can give quizzes or tests in Canvas. You can have students submit homework assignments, and you can grade them for class participation through the Canvas discussion topics. So Canvas is a vital tool in assessing students in an online course, which, again, all of our courses apparently, at least the lecture portions of them, will be online right through the end of the fall term, is what we're hearing right now anyway. So it's a critical tool. And Canvas also allows you to communicate with your students effectively, asynchronously. So that, again, you don't all have to be online at the same time, but you can still have a very rich, several rich communication channels with your students that can be operated at a time convenient to you and to them, not necessarily the same time. So let's start off by seeing how we access Canvas at the San Diego Community College District. Our Canvas system has a web address or a URL of sdccd.instructure.com, Instructure being the name of the company that writes Canvas. I'm going to put that link in the chat tool so that you will have that. It's at the bottom of the chat tool. And those of you attending on a computer can save that chat tool at the chat log at any time by clicking on a little button in the lower right-hand corner of the chat window labeled More. It looks like 3 little dots in a line. If you click on that, you'll get an option to save the chat, and the chat log will be saved in a folder called Zoom that's automatically created in your default document directory on your PC or your Mac. So you can always save any of these links that I put into the chat tool.
Can you repeat that quickly? Just that last instruction.
You can save that chat log. It'll go in by clicking on the menu, the More link in the lower right-hand corner of the chat window. And the file is just a little text file that's clearly labeled that you'll find in a folder called Zoom in your default document folder on either your PC or your Mac. So sdccd.instructure.com is Canvas. It's also linked numerous places it's linked to the district website, to the college and continuing ed websites, and to our online learning pathways website as well. But the easiest way to get to it is to just type sdccd.instructure.com into the location line on your web browser and press enter. And pretty much any web browser should work fine with Canvas. It's very flexible that way. When you get to the login page, you're asked for a user ID and a password in the usual fashion. Your user ID is your 10-digit PeopleSoft employee ID, which you use every day or you're bombarded with all the time. Your password is initially set to your birth date, your 8-digit birth date, month, day, year. And you're reminded of that down here in the lower part of the login screen in case you forget. If anybody has any trouble logging in with into Canvas, please let me know. You can email me at dgiberso@sdccd.edu. District email. I've also put that in the chat tool, and I'm always happy to hear from you whenever you have questions about Canvas or Zoom or whatever. So we enter our user ID and a password in the usual way and click Login, and we're taken to what's called the Canvas dashboard. This is the first thing you see and the first thing the students see in Canvas. It's a series of colored rectangles called tiles, each one of which represents a course that you're enrolled in, either as the instructor or perhaps as a student or a TA or whatever. But in your case, most of them, you'll be enrolled as the instructor. And there's a name associated with each course, with each tile, of course, to let you know which course that is. You should see tiles for all of your current courses. Well, of course, we're just about to end up spring term here. But your spring, even if you haven't used Canvas up to this point, there'll be tiles in there for the courses that you taught in the spring. Because every course section that's scheduled at the district automatically has a Canvas shell, or what we call a Canvas shell, a Canvas course, a container into which you can put content. Every course has a shell made for it automatically, whether you choose to use it or not. And that's up to you, but it's there. And the summer shells, if you're teaching this summer, will be there right now. Your fall shells won't be showing up yet, but you'll receive those due to problems in PeopleSoft, not in Canvas. It's generally impossible for us to make your live course shells, your tiles here, available more than about a week before the beginning of the next semester, which is inconvenient in some ways. But that doesn't mean you have to wait until you have those live shells to begin developing your Canvas course. That would be impossible to do that. Well, you would not want to have to do that in a week's time. Instead, you can ask for what we call development shells for each of the courses that you teach. Like one for English 101, one for English 205, things like that. And you put your content and your assessments into that shell, that development shell, and you get everything ready. And then during that week, between the time you get your live shells and the term starts, you can copy that content into the live shells. And the process takes just a couple of minutes, less than that once you've done it a couple of times per course. So it's not a major task, but it is, and it's something we'll talk about today and how to do that as well. So you will have some shells there to work with in all probability already. If not, let us know. Indeed, you can request those development shells at any time. And the first thing we'll learn here about Canvas is how to get help. That's always the first thing you learn about a new complex software system. How do I get help with it? Once you know how to do that, you can figure out most other things you need to know. Well, on the left-hand side of all Canvas screens, once you log in, will be this global access menu, they call it, or this, I like to think of it as a Canvas system menu. It's always there, and it's not associated directly with any one course. It's associated with Canvas as a whole, with your account in Canvas. Your courses are over here. Let me roll this up and get that animated GIF out of the way that somebody has put in there. Distracting. But the help button is at the bottom of that menu, and that's the most important button in the whole system. If you click on that, what you see at the top is a support hotline number. It's a toll-free number that you can call 24/7, 365 and get help with Canvas from people employed by Instructure, by the company that owns Canvas. So these are competent people, and they're very motivated to be helpful. They are, as you might imagine, extremely busy right now, and you may have to wait a little while occasionally on this. Our average wait time right now, last time I heard, was about 7 minutes to get through to a hotline helper. Hopefully, if you pick off-peak times, and I mean like off-peak times, like on the East Coast, where the bulk of the Canvas users still exist, you'll get through quicker. But you can call these folks and ask them anything. But the first thing you might ask them is, could I have a development shell for this course, and that course? And here's my username, and you don't have to give your password, just your username, and that will identify you as a faculty member at the district, and they will make you the development shells. And usually that only takes a couple of minutes. So that's how you get your development shells to begin working in Canvas, and I do that as soon as possible. There are also a huge set of Canvas tutorials called the Canvas Guides provided by Instructure. In the middle of the menu here, search the Canvas Guides. And there are both instructor and student guides that cover almost every aspect of the Canvas system. We have our own Canvas tutorials that I'll show you something about a little later on. And those are the things you will use most commonly in that help menu. So that's a menu you will become very familiar with. Oh, and there's also a support request that you can file, a ticket system. If you are experiencing an unacceptably long wait time on the hotline, you can put in a ticket and they will get back to you. And if they have any problems helping you, they'll forward it to us and we'll get back to you. Okay, more about that help menu, or more about this global access menu as we go along. We'll keep coming back to this. So each one of these colored tiles represents a course. I am going to repurpose one of these shells for our situation today. And I'm going to go ahead and make it a blank shell. This is something you can do. If you start working on a shell and it becomes foobar, everybody knows what foobar means, right? Fouled up beyond all recognition, and you just want to start over, you can go to reset course content. Be very careful about doing this, however, because it's irreversible. Don't do this in the wrong shell. We provide access to this button with some trepidation because at least once already someone has deleted their entire course, and to a great deal of gnashing of teeth and tearing of clothes. So please be careful with this. But I know I'm in the right shell here, so I can reset this. And this will become what you will receive when you ask for either either a development shell or when you get your live shells. They will look like this. This is a blank Canvas shell, a blank container waiting to be filled with content and assessments and all manner of other good stuff. So how do we go about that? This has changed a little bit for some of you who may have attended this course before. There used to be two icons on the home page here of a blank course. And suddenly, just over the last few days, that's gone down to one. They're assuming here that you are building a course from scratch, which is a fair assumption if you are just getting started with Canvas. But there is another option, which I'll just mention briefly. If you have a colleague who is willing to share their Canvas content with you, teaches the same course as you do, or one or more of the same courses, you can ask. They're not obligated to say yes, but you can ask and say, well, would you mind sharing your Canvas course content? You know, it'd be a real help for me getting started. Then you can keep what you like and change what you don't, and get started a lot faster. It's not, it's a big ask because it's creating a good Canvas course is a lot of work. But a lot of people are very generous about that. Indeed, some departments have standard template shells that they'll provide for certain of their more commonly taught courses. And you might check with your department to see, with your department head or dean, to see if such is available in your department. If it's not, you still have one other option, and that's over here in the Canvas system menu, the global access menu. That's the icon one up from the bottom called the Canvas Commons. If I click on that link, I go to a huge repository of what are usually called learning objects, online course content that's been shared by people all over the country and all over the world with this Canvas Commons, and which you can use to your heart's content, sometimes with attribution, but all of these things have been put in here to be shared with you and everyone else who has access to the Canvas Commons. You can find material in here on almost any subject. And I'll take a shot here. Somebody give me a subject. You can put it in the chat tool or just unmute yourself and shout it out. Any subject.
Philosophy.
Philosophy. Oh, good. We haven't done that one before. Thank you. Probably help if I spelled it right. That got a few more hits. 145 results on philosophy. We could also narrow this by putting in more keywords like Eastern, Western, things like that. But let's just go with the basics. 145 hits, and these hits range from like single Canvas pages. We'll talk about what a Canvas page is in a few minutes here, to modules full of links and content, groups of content, to homework assignments, to there'll be quizzes in here. I haven't seen one yet, but there'll be quizzes. There will be, yeah, there's a quiz. All levels of granularity, all the way up to full and complete courses, which you are free to take and use for your own if you find them useful. Indeed, you can load this content, keep what you like, throw away what you don't, and it can give you a great leg up in creating a Canvas shell from scratch. The process of putting this into your Canvas shell is really pretty simple. You just you preview, like, let's look at this complete course here for Philosophy 101. It'll probably tell us where it came from. Go to details. There's the author. It doesn't say where he works. Sometimes it does. You can see basically what's in it. Looks like there's one module, 3 pages, and 4 files. That's not a whole lot of content, but there were several other courses in there as well. But just on the off chance that we like this one, we can download it into our own shells, our development shells, by just clicking this import/download button here, and then selecting the shell we want to put it in. Heaven forbid your list of shells ever gets that long. I'll just pick one at random. I'm not actually going to import this. Well, I suppose I could. And you can even do multiples if you wish. And then just click this button that says import into Canvas. When you do that, Canvas will say, okay, it's happening. Just come back, go look at that course in a few minutes. Go look at that shell in a few minutes, and this course will be in it. And then you can sort through it and keep what you want and throw away what you don't. So the Canvas Commons can be a really useful thing if you can find something that you like in there, and you're perfectly welcome to use it. That's what it's there for. That's a really simple way to get started, if you can find something useful. But more often than not, you're going to be starting from scratch. You're going to be starting with a blank shell like we have here, and you're going to be adding your own content to it, and then adding your own assessments and setting up your discussions, and with your own material, much of which you probably already have on your home computer or on paper or whatever. So how do you get started with that? Well, the first thing you do when you're adding content to a Canvas course is to create a new module. And that's what this big icon gets you started doing here. It brings up an add module box. And the Canvas user interface is usually quite intuitive. You can usually figure out what to do just by looking carefully at the page that you're on. Excuse me. And here the only thing you're asked to do is give the module a name. It can be anything. Module 1. In this case, I'm probably going to call it Introduction. It's typical to have a module at the top of the course that has the material in it that you will normally go over in class on the first day of the term when you first meet the students. Things like your course syllabus, an introduction from you, maybe showing them the textbook, things like that. These are the kinds of things we'd probably put in an introduction module. So to create that module, we'll click Add Module. And suddenly we now have an introduction module. And we can add stuff to it. To give you an idea of what a module is, I'm going to go to another course here for a second, one that's already built out that I use for illustration here. This is what's called the modules tool in Canvas. This is where your modules go. This is where the links that your students use to access your content and your assessments go. And each one of these lists of links here, surrounded by white space, is a module. It's just a collection of links to content, to assessments, tests, homework assignments, graded discussions, all of which are related in some way. Here's a Getting Started module, and it contains a welcome page, information about the instructor, a discussion for questions and answers so that students can ask you questions without having to email you. That's a better way usually of handling communication with students, because you usually don't have to answer the same question more than once. You can just say, well, the answer to that's in the Q&A discussion. Go look there, and if you have more questions, then get back in touch with me. Also, sometimes the students will help you answer them, and sometimes they don't get the answers right. So it can cut a lot of workload out for you. Here's a syllabus and a survey, and a few other odds and ends of things that I've dropped in there as examples in the past. But all of these are related in that they are things that the students need to know, or they need to have, or they need to look at before they actually get started interacting with your course content, your subject matter content. That is, that's a common way to, or a common first module to have, but they're all related. And the student, in order to get to all of this information, doesn't have to go over here and look around in the course menus and try to figure out, well, where would they put the syllabus? You know, well, maybe there's a syllabus link, but that may not be there. We'll talk about that later. Nothing makes students more anxious than going into an online course, especially if they've never done one before, never taken one before. Nothing makes them more anxious than not knowing how to get started, or once they finish some task, not knowing what to do next. Having all the links to everything they need in modules like this makes that very unlikely to happen. This is called modular course design, and it's the gold standard for online course design. these modules should be a one-stop shop for your students. They should be able to go to the top of the first module, start working their way down. When they get done with that one, they go to the next module, and they keep working down through the modules. And when they get to the bottom, they should be done with the course, and they should rarely, if ever, have to click on anything over here in the course menu. That's the mark of a well-designed online course, and one that your students should have no trouble navigating. After that first getting started or introduction module, typically we'll follow a series of modules that are organized in whatever manner you logically organize your course content. Maybe by week, you know, what you cover the first week and the second week normally, and so on, could be put in a module. So you could have a module entitled week 1, and then the next module would be week 2, and so on. Or you might have week 1 and 2 in one module, or whatever works for you, but they might be arranged chronologically that way. Or it might be chapters in the textbook. You might have a chapter or a module for chapters 1 and 2, and another one for 3 and 4, or whatever. Or you might, as I've done here, just have modules identified with a topic. If just depends on how you have your course logically organized in your mind and in your materials. You can create as many modules as you need, and your modules can have any number of links within them. And you would hope they would be logically ordered so that your students would be able to proceed from one to the next in order and progress through your material in a manner that you deem to be logical, that you think will enhance their understanding of it, so that they'll be prepared for the material in the lower links by what they find in the ones higher up in the modules tool. Basic idea of modular course design. So the question becomes, how do we generate this organization here? Well, let's go back to the other course and just try a little bit of that. Okay, where'd it go? Oh goodness, that's one thing. Sometimes Canvas moves things around on the dashboard, and your dashboard is as messy as mine is. I think is that the one? No, that's not the one. That's inconvenient. Just a second, I'll find that one. There's 9. Put it all the way at the bottom. I guess that's better than just mixing it in the middle somewhere. Okay, here's where we were a moment ago. This is what your modules tool looks like when you get started and you've created your first module. Now the question becomes, how do you get content into the module? Or into the course, I should say more accurately, how do you get content into the course and then put links to that content in the modules so that students can access that content? And what kind of content can you put in there? We can find all of that out by going to this plus sign here on the same line as the title of the module, the name of the module. That is your add content button for this module. This is how you put stuff into this module, by clicking on that plus sign, and you get a dialog box popping up that is entitled Add Item. So what's an item? What do they mean by item? Well, they mean one of these things in this menu here. It could be a homework assignment. It could be a quiz. It could be a file, a page, a discussion topic, don't worry about text headers, or an external URL, a web link, a link to something outside of Canvas that you want your students to look at. And those are the basic items, and an external tool would just be something like my whatever lab from the publisher. So we can put any of these items into the module. And since we're talking right now about content, we'll talk about assessments a little later, about how to evaluate your students a little later. But right now we're just talking about course content. Things like lecture notes, reading assignments in your textbook, references to chapters or pages in your textbooks you want students to read. Your PowerPoint presentations, if you use those, would be a type of course content that you might link into this module. Test prep materials. I'm sure you can come up with some other examples of things that you need to share with your students. Perhaps recordings of your Zoom sessions that you've done with them in real time, or with some of them at least in real time. Your lectures, in other words, could go right in here. And the three content types that Canvas makes available to you are files, pages, and external URLs, which Blackboard used to call web links, which I think is maybe a little bit more descriptive term, links to stuff outside of Canvas. But the files and the pages would be things that you would either load into Canvas or create within Canvas. And let's start off with the simplest idea, which is the file. What does Canvas mean here when it says file? Well, it means any computer file that you might have on your local computer. Might be your syllabus, or it might be a page with some information about you on it. Could be a Word document with some information about you on it. It might be a PowerPoint presentation. It might be a PDF document with some reading material that you want your students to read and digest. It might be pictures. If you're teaching an art appreciation class, it might be pictures of famous artworks. Any of these things could be residing in files, computer files, on your local computer. And this is the way we can upload them to Canvas and provide a link to your students so your students can see the contents of those files and make use of them. Since this is a blank course, blank shell, we don't have any files to link to already, so we have to tell Canvas, okay, I want to upload a new file. I want to put a new file, move it from my computer to Canvas. You do that just by clicking on that new file button there, and you're just asked to choose the file that you want to upload to Canvas. Sorry about the background noise. My dog's dreaming over here. Tater, wake up. The joys of working from home. Okay. So when we tell Canvas we want to add a file, to load a file into Canvas, we have to know where it is on our local computer. So Canvas opens up our file manager, either the File Explorer, as I have here on this PC, or the Finder on the Mac. And you have to know where you put that file. This is the hard part, that and generating the file in the first place, of course. Well, my files, I think, are in downloads under Canvas. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Here, I just had to remember that. No secret formula for that. And what type of file might I upload? Well, something I'm certainly going to need to share with my students right off the bat is my syllabus. So there's a syllabus file. It's a Word document. That's fine. Common files that are often uploaded to Canvas include Word documents above all, PDF, Adobe Acrobat Reader documents that work across platforms very well, PowerPoint presentations, Excel spreadsheets, and just about everything else you can imagine. Used to be, and with Blackboard, for instance, we had to worry a lot about whether students could open up these files or not. Like a PowerPoint, if we provided a PowerPoint file to our students, the chances they would have to either have PowerPoint on their local computer or a PowerPoint viewer of some sort. And this often required that they install that. Not so much with Canvas. The more common file types like Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, and so on, have viewers on Canvas that will allow Canvas to display the contents of those files without them having to download to the students' computers to be opened up. So if you're using common file types, you don't really have to worry about that in Canvas. But let's say we want that syllabus. I just select it and click Open. And that tells Canvas which file I want to upload. And then I just click Add Item down here in the lower right-hand corner. And bam, there's a link to that document. The document has uploaded to Canvas. It's actually living in the Canvas file manager over here, but we don't care about that right now. All we care about is that if a student comes along and clicks on this link, they're going to see my syllabus. It's not much of a syllabus. Wasn't much of a course. But there it is. If they want to download it and print it, for instance, they can do that by clicking on this link here. But they don't have to do that just to read it. So this file came up very quickly because it didn't have to download all the way to the student's computer and then wait for Word or a Word viewer to open up on that student's computer.
Dave,
It just came up. Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed. Could you just re-show where you clicked on that, please? I just missed seeing when you said just click here if they want to print it.
Oh, right here.
This
link right here.
Okay.
That would download the file to the local computer. And they still have that option. They always have that option with a file that's been uploaded to Canvas. So you want to be aware of that.
Dave, I have a question as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is Joyce. Let me turn on my video. Sorry, just a second. Hi. So what I'm wondering, and thank you for this awesome explanation you're giving. I haven't been teaching this spring semester, but I'm probably going to be teaching in the fall. So I don't know how people have handled this, but I teach ESL, and my students, I mean, computer literacy is really rough. I mean, a lot of them, I have to teach them even how to use a mouse or turn on a computer. So
right.
I can't imagine how they're going to get on this. So I'm sure people have been helping them, but I was trying to think how, because for me, I'm not too worried about me using this, even though there is a learning curve, but my students, how do I teach them to get on it? And I thought I could make a screencast taking them step by step, but how do I get into the student side of things? And then how do they even access that in the first place? So I was just wondering what other people have done this semester, because I'd have to email that to them, but I don't even know that a lot of them even have emails. So how are people even getting?
You're certainly right that could be a challenge, though there is a lot of help for them available through online learning pathways, and through the district as a whole is providing help with that. They also have a 24/7 hotline number they can call, just like yours. It's a different number, so they get a different set of people who can help them with that, and that's always available through the help button.
But I imagine that's all in English. There's not any bilingual.
It is all, and it is primarily in English, yes.
And maybe this is more a question for my department heads and my immediate supervisors, but I was just wondering how you have been teaching people to teach their students how to get access to it, especially those that are technologically.
Right. Well, the key, again, is that help button there. Once they get in, we do have, and we have on that login page, we have information on how to log in. So once they get in, they've got this help button, and they've got access to the Canvas guides, to the hotline number, the student hotline number. I will tell you that because PeopleSoft was so slow off the mark, we had to run three pilot semesters on Canvas before we could actually begin using it for everyone.
Steve, I'm sorry, somebody's trying to get your attention. They can't hear you. Their sound got turned off somehow. It's Yusra.
I think, let me make sure I'm transmitting here. Yes, I am. I don't appear to be muted, no. So there's not much, unfortunately, I can do about this.
Did you push the mute button on your computer, Yusra?
No, that muting only affects your microphone, not your speakers.
I mean, her ability to hear you. You know how you can mute.
No, that wouldn't. No, there's nothing that I can do to prevent that except mute my microphone. Then that would mute everyone. So I'm sorry, but be sure that your speakers haven't accidentally been turned off. That's the most common problem. Or it's possible your internet connection is having issues and the sound is not getting through, though especially if it's fragmented and distorted. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do about that at this point. Hopefully it will get better. But I was the primary support contact for hundreds of students who were in those pilot courses. And I can count on my fingers and toes the number of times for 3 semesters. And I can count on my fingers and toes the number of times I had a question from students other than how do I log in, or what's my password, or can I get my password? I forgot my password. Forgetting your birthday is a sad thing, but other than that, we rarely had questions from students. Canvas is so intuitive that I will say it's much less likely to be a problem for them than other systems would be.
Even ESL students, even students that English was not their first language, you didn't.
We've had a lot of ESL students on there, and
great,
some have had more trouble than others. Obviously, this is always true, but generally, it's if the course is well designed, as we've talked about with the modular design and so on, they usually find their way through it. Because, of course, I don't have to tell you that students usually read better than they speak early on in the learning process for a language. And there is a lot of reading in a learning management system, so that helps.
I'm not worried about
I'm not trying to minimize the challenges, though. There will be challenges in that regard. But right now, though, we really need to move on and talk more about Canvas.
Oh, sure, no problem.
And those are things I'd love to talk about with you later on. Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, so we've presented this syllabus here, and it's in the modules tool. You can always get back to the modules by clicking on the modules link over here in the course menu. And there we are back to the to our very skinny module at this point, but we're on our way. So any kind of file that we have on our local computer that we want to share with our students, we can put it on the Canvas by just clicking this plus sign and clicking and telling it we want to upload a file, a new file that we haven't uploaded before, and then choose that file, and then add the item. So putting files onto Canvas to share with your students is a huge deal. I mean, that's an awful lot of information that you can share with your students. And you will undoubtedly do a lot of that. But a file is only one kind of content that you might share with your students. There's also the Canvas page, which is probably even more powerful and important. A page is a file, but it's a file that it's basically a web page, a file that you create on Canvas rather than creating it on your local computer offline and then uploading it to Canvas. You create it right on Canvas. So if you're creating new content from scratch, a Canvas page is a great choice. Brand new course, so this would be a new page. So we click on the words new page. And the only thing Canvas asks us to do at this moment is to name the page. And we can call it whatever is appropriate, like Lecture 1 or PowerPoint 1. Or in this case, since this is a Getting Started module here, I'm just going to call it Welcome. And then I just type that into the page name box. And if you don't do that, Canvas will prompt you to do it. And then add item. So now there's a welcome link here. But if I click on that, I just get a title. All that's there is the name. That's all I put in it. It's a blank page. So how do I put stuff into it? You can probably tell me that. What do I do now? How do I build this page out?
Edit.
Edit. Very good. Good for you.
Hey,
Edit.
Dave,
Yes.
can I
Yes.
ask a quick question? Does this stuff handle cut and paste really well?
Quite well.
Okay.
That's a
From
great way to put it. That's
From
one
multiple
option.
different sources.
Multiple different sources. You
Okay.
can even safely paste, for instance, if you have stuff in a Word document that you want to put into a Canvas page,
Yeah.
you can safely copy it from Word and paste it into the Canvas editor.
Parenthetically, since I use WordPerfect, does it handle WordPerfect?
WordPerfect, same thing. The WordPerfect's
Okay.
probably even safer.
Good.
No, Canvas doesn't really care where it's coming from. Now,
Okay.
copy and paste is not perfect. Some things will copy and others won't. So you may have to do some cleanup when you get things over. But by and large, particularly large quantities of text will copy and paste just fine, no matter what the source. That was a real problem we used to have in Blackboard. You risked your immortal soul if you copied and pasted material from Microsoft Word into Blackboard's editor that corresponds to this one, because it just didn't handle it very well. You could literally stop your entire course from working by copying and pasting the wrong thing from Word. Not so with Canvas, thank goodness. So indeed, what we get when we edit the page is called the Canvas Rich Content Editor. And it's basically just kind of a little Microsoft Word or WordPerfect or whatever. It's a basic text editor. You can type text like the title of the course. And you can do all the usual text editing stuff. You can bold it. You can italicize it. I don't want to underline it. Yeah.
I'm in a meeting.
Just
It's
a
a
sec.
freaking second meeting.
There we go. One of the things you can do in Zoom is mute everyone very quickly. That happens. All right. We can center it, or right justify, left justify. We can add bulleted lists and numbered lists, all the usual basic text editing stuff that you'd see in Word or WordPerfect or Google Docs or whatever. And you can change the size of the text, make it bigger. What you can't do is pick the typeface, because the font, because what you're creating here is a web page, a page defined by what is called hypertext markup language, HTML. And hypertext markup language does not have the formatting capability that, say, Microsoft Word does. This is not Microsoft Word. So, or a word process or WordPerfect. And there are limitations in how much control you have over things like fonts and so on. The fonts will basically be chosen by the student's web browser. So you can't exactly determine normally what they're going to see in terms of typeface. It's just something you have to live with. If you're going to teach typography, you're going to upload files from your local computer using something that you can control fonts in. Usually it's not that big a deal. Okay, so we've got a course title. Something else, I can move it around on the just usual word processor stuff. I can also insert images into a Canvas page. I do that with this tool here. This is kind of if you've got a little digital camera, sometimes it'll have this icon on it. That's a universal icon for image editing. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can see that a little better. That's a universal image editing icon. But if you mouse over it, it says embed image, so you know what you're doing. If you click on that, you can, for some reason, Canvas, the first option Canvas gives you is to put in a link to a picture online somewhere. That's probably not what you're going to do. You're probably going to you probably have a picture that you've either created on your local computer or that you've downloaded to your local computer from somewhere else, and you want to upload that into Canvas and use it. For that, you go to the Canvas tab here, and you tell Canvas normally that you want to put this file into your course, this image into your course, in your course files. And when you do that, this upload file button lights up. If you click on that upload file button, it opens up a file manager, a dialog box, either File Explorer or Finder. And you go and you look for the picture on your local computer. I've got one here. I've got a lot of them here, but let me find one that would be appropriate in this case. Hopefully there's nothing inappropriate here, but there's one I'm looking for. That's our Online Learning Pathways logo. We often use that as a banner on top of our pages. So I'll select that and click open. And that file uploads to Canvas and it's ready to be used. And it's going to be inserted into that document. The only other thing we need to do before we update this and actually put the image into the document or into the page that we're creating is to type what's called alt text, alternate text. This is what a screen reader used by a blind student will be able to read to that student, because obviously the student can't see this image. So you have to describe what that image is. That's the Online Learning Pathways logo. Usually as brief a description as possible. And click, now we can click update and that logo appears. So that's how you put a picture, an image, a still image into your our developing welcome page. So we can put text, still images. We can also, excuse me, do things like embed videos into this page. Say there's a video on YouTube that you want to use. You can go to YouTube. Though YouTube's not the only place you could use video from, but it's one of the more common options. You can see what my wife's been looking at here. And I'm going to use one of my videos I've got on here. Search for that. Sometimes I have trouble finding this one. Let me see. Ah, nope, that's not the one I wanted. And keep looking. That's not it. Keep searching. Yep. Okay, just a second. Got another way around this here. I'll go back to my dashboard and find this in another course. I'll be right back with you. All right, that should be it. And I'm going to copy the URL for that video from YouTube. And I'm going to go back to Canvas. And I'm going to go to this icon right here, the Insert Edit Media tool. I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to paste the link, the URL for that video into there and click OK. And there it is.
Could you do that last couple steps? Can you blow blow that up, please?
Yeah, that right there, that little icon right there, the Insert Edit Media tool allows you to put video and audio into your Canvas page. You click on that and you get this dialog box that comes up. And it asks you for the source of the media file or the media that you want to put into this page. And you just give it the, having copied the link to that media from YouTube, I just paste that into this box and then click OK. That's what I just did. I don't want to do it again. I'll get 2 copies of it.
I don't mean that. I just, if you're going to paste, you want to paste some URL from, say, YouTube, could you do a portion of it? Let's say there's a 20-minute thing and you want to see it, let them see 5 minutes of it.
Well, they get to determine how much of it they watch.
Oh, so it's all or nothing.
Well, actually, it's not. You can tell, it's a little bit more of an advanced technique, but you can tell the video if it's a YouTube video, you can tell it to start playing at a certain time code in the video rather than start at the beginning.
Okay, yeah. All right.
So that would help in that regard.
That's all.
So you could at least have them start in the right place.
Sure.
Okay. Though generally videos that you're going to use in your Canvas course need to be as short as possible.
Yes. Under 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, and by the time you get to 7 minutes, you've lost about 90% of your viewers, other things being equal. Because unfortunately, unless you're a lot better at it than I am, it ain't gonna be Grey's Anatomy. So they're gonna have, it's gonna take some doing for them to stick with it. But there's a video that we can put in there. We can also put links to content both inside of Canvas and outside of Canvas into a Canvas page. Let's say we're teaching a course on current affairs and we want to send them to, say, the CNN website. I use that not because of any political preference, but simply because it's easy to type the URL. It's very short. Let's say I want to put in a link to CNN. I can just type that and highlight it and click my link to URL button, or hyperlink. And I can just type in or paste the URL for the CNN website, which is just www.cnn.com, and insert the link. And now that's, if the student clicks on that, they'll go right out to CNN, right out of Canvas and right out to CNN. I can also link to stuff inside Canvas, like the modules that we're creating. I do that, I link to internal content using these tabs over here on the right in the content editor. And if I want to link to something inside Canvas, I go to this tab, the links tab, and course navigation, and I can go to the modules tool down here. But of course, I do need something to anchor that link to, so I'll just type course modules in text, or I can link pictures to external and internal content as well. But usually hyperlinks are anchored to text that tells you what they're going to lead you to. So course modules, and I can just pull up the links tab here and go to course navigation, modules. And then let me save all this and let's see what we have. All right, we have the beginnings of a fairly exemplary Canvas page. By exemplary, I mean it contains most of the things you're going to see in a Canvas page from time to time, though obviously Canvas pages can contain a lot more information than this. But we've got static graphics, we've got text, we've got video embedded. By the way, that by embedding, I don't mean that this video is actually loaded into Canvas. You generally don't load video into Canvas. You don't have enough space in your Canvas file allocation to do that. This video is still on YouTube, but this is just a fancy way of linking to it. And then I have a link to CNN. If I want to play this video, I just click on it and it plays. Hi everyone, and welcome to back when I had shorter hair. I can click here and link out to CNN. We don't want to get into that discussion right now. Then I can come back to Canvas just by that opened in a new tab, so I was able to just hop right back to Canvas. So it's not hard to get back. Or I can click here, excuse me, and I can go back to where I'm building my modules. So that's a Canvas page. I spent quite a bit of time on that because that's the most important content element that you might put in there. And just a word about these little check marks here. This means published. Published in Canvas means students can see it. If they can get into the course at all, they can see this. But I also have to publish the module and everything else in it if I want the students to be able to see all of it. Or maybe I don't want them to see this right away. I can take that away by unpublishing it. So you can control, this is how you control what students can see and what they can't. in Canvas. Publishing. So I've got the beginnings of a module here.
Hey, Dave, I got a quick question.
You bet.
So I was inserting images into a module, and then the images show up on the computer that I'm working on, but then when I go to another device to check, the images don't show, only the image name inside of a square. So the link, there's a link missing, I believe.
It may have to do with the type of image that you're using. You're creating web pages here, and only certain image types will work as what are called inline images in a web page. And those are generally JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs. And that's about it that you can be sure.
They are JPEGs, so.
They are JPEGs.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'd have to look at the individual circumstance. As you can see, normally they work fine. Those were both, the image I put in there was a JPEG.
Right. Well, it shows
and
on,
it should
on
just appear.
It shows on the computer that I'm working on, but then when I go to another device just to check, the links are broken.
That sounds like the files are not actually uploading to Canvas. But again, I'd have to look at that specific circumstance.
Right.
Normally,
Thanks.
what you saw here will work.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to look at that for you if you want to email me. I'll take a look at it and we can see what's going on there.
Thanks so much.
You bet. Okay, so far we've been working on this introduction module, this getting started module, if you will. The first thing is the stuff that the students need before they start working on your content. But now let's talk about your actual course subject matter. How do you put that in? Well, you're probably going to make a new module for that, probably several of them. But you will not probably want to put everything that you're going to share with your students in this one module. That would be confusing and difficult to work with. You can make new modules at any time, as long as you're in the modules tool, which is where we've been working. You can always get there by clicking on the word modules in the course menu over here. We can add a module, and we might call this topic 1. And in the little sample course I showed you before, the first topic was why learn about screencasting. What is screencasting? Maybe I could just call it that. Topic 1, what is screencasting? And I might even spell it correctly. And add the module. Now I have a new blank module that I can add content to, just as I did this one. And this content is going to be subject matter content. And the third type of subject content that I want to show you, in addition to the file and the page, is the external URL. In this menu here, I can select external URL. And I just have to give Canvas 2 things. I have to give it the link, the URL for the external content, and the name of the page that something for the students to click on. I'm going to just make this the TechSmith Guide to Screencasting. Is the name of it. And the URL is out on the web somewhere. I'll have to go out there and find it. I'll go to the, in this case, to the TechSmith website, which is the company that sort of invented screencasting as a technique. Screencasting, by the way, is what I'm doing right now. I'm recording this session in Zoom, and I'll put that recording online, and later you can come back and watch all of this and hear me talking about it if you so desire. And you'll be able to see the screens that I was sharing and so on. That's screencasting. But let's see. Let me search for that. the ultimate guide to screencasting. That's what I'm looking for. The URL for this is up here in the address line on my browser. So I just highlight that and copy it to the clipboard. And I go back to Canvas and I paste that into this URL box here and click Add Item. Now I have a web link here, so indicated by the little chain link icon next to it. And if a student comes along, if I publish this so that students can see it, they can click on this link and it takes them right to that guide and they can read it. So the whole world of information available out on the web is available to your students through a link in your module. And you can just keep doing that. You can keep adding files and creating pages one way and another, and keep pulling in web links or external URLs, and you can build your course up. You can build the content in your course that way. Just there's a lot of work there, but conceptually it's not that difficult. You just keep adding files and creating Canvas pages until you've provided the students with all the information they need. And again, some of these links some of these external links here might be links to Zoom recordings that you have out on the web, lectures that you've done. For instance, I can add a web link here to do that again, external URL. We'll call this Canvas Overview. And I can go to YouTube and I can look in my channel videos and the videos I've created. We've done this a few times over the last few months. Let me just search for overview. There's the last time we did this on May the 7th. I can just pull the URL for that video. That's it right there. We have sessions where we talk about how to use YouTube. I'm not going to go into great detail there, but I now have the link to that video. And I just go and I paste that right here into the URL box in my external URL. And generally with a video, you want to load that in a new tab. Makes it neater. Sometimes it makes it work when it wouldn't otherwise. So I always do that with videos. And then add the item. And now I have a link to this session that we're doing right now. The last time I did this, I have to tell Canvas it's okay to open a new window. But there it is. There's the recording. Good afternoon, everyone. The last time we did this. So you can use Zoom and Canvas together in that way. You can lecture to your students, you can record the lecture and make it available for them at their convenience at any time by linking it into a module. So I hope you're beginning to see how powerful this is. There's very little in the way of information that your students need that you can't provide to them this way. And you can provide it, if you use Zoom as well as Canvas, you can provide it to them in a very personal and engaging way that's more than them just reading one page of information after another, after another, after another, which some online courses are, but not the best ones. So it's nice to have a variety of content. So great, we can provide information to our students, but that's only half the task in front of us. We also have to assess how well they've mastered that information. And that's where the assessment tools in Canvas come in. We have quizzes, standard tests, that can be both objective and subjective. There's not much you can test in in terms of a paper test in class that you can't test in Canvas online, where the students take the test online. We have homework assignments, and we have graded discussions. So let's put in a quiz. We saw that option in this menu before. We can add a quiz to this module. This will be a new quiz. I got to give it a name. I'm just going to call it Screencasting Quiz. Not feeling especially original at this moment. And add the item. But that, like the page we created up above, is just a blank quiz right now. If we click on the name of it, and I did that a little quickly, excuse me. If we click on the link to the quiz in the module, we go to the quiz itself, which is empty, but we can edit it and make it not empty anymore. We can set options for the test. We can provide instructions. We can set a time limit. We can indicate how many times students can take the test. And I can't go through this in detail. We don't have time. We have an assessment in Canvas session where we go through this in detail. I can decide whether or not to let the students see their paper or their test after they submit it. And I can set due dates and availability dates that govern when the students can take the test and tell them the date by which they should have completed it.
Dave?
And then, yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had a question about the quiz, and because I had this problem where I have the test questions rotated. I put more questions than needed so that there'd be enough so that no two students would have the same exam. But I had a hard time with matching because I guess Canvas sees matching as one question. So if there are 4 parts to it, you have to make certain that there are 4 different answers. But I still don't understand how it can come out.
Yeah.
4 more, yeah.
4 more.
But I still don't understand how a student can get a question with a partial grade if it's 4 matching things, and then if they don't get it, somehow it wound up I still haven't quite figured it out, but
it will automatically give them credit for what they get right and deduct what they get wrong. So if there are 4 pairs, matching pairs,
and
they get 2 of them right and 2 of them wrong,
right,
they'll get half the credit for the question.
But
so if it's a 4-point question, they'll get 2 points.
Yeah, but it
and
shouldn't
Canvas
be
handles that automatically. I'm sorry?
But I don't understand how they can have a 0.5. Like if there's 4 questions, and if I say it's worth 4 points, then if they get 2 right, it should be 2 right and 2 wrong. But somehow there's a couple of them winding up with a 0.5 somewhere, and I haven't quite figured that out because I thought everything was matching.
I'd have to look at the question to see. Matching questions can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look at that one.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to.
Okay.
But to add questions to the test, we just go to the Questions tab. And if we're adding new questions, we just click that New Question button. And we can select any one of several different types of questions, ranging from multiple choice to everybody's favorite, multiple answer, where there's more than one right answer in a multiple choice question. Matching, that Kathy was just talking about. Essay questions, and others. The objective questions, Canvas can grade itself. The essay questions, it can't. So you may have to do some manual grading in the test, or not if you use all objective questions like multiple choice and true false. We can ask something like, which of the following are screencasting? This is a multiple choice question, just being the most common. I'll show that as an example. Then we have possible answers that we enter. And my personal favorite, my students learned to choose this if they didn't know what the answer was. All of the above. That, in this case, that turns out to be the right answer because, as we already mentioned, Zoom can be used for screencasting. So I just have to tell Canvas which one is the right answer. It can't figure that out. Thank goodness. When it gets to the point where it can figure that out, they don't need us anymore.
Shouldn't you say all the other questions? Because sometimes sometimes if it rotates, all the above will be at the top. So isn't it best to say all the answers are correct?
You do not want, yeah, in that event, that's one of the reasons we would be very careful about using that shuffle answers option in an objective test. That may not be one you want to use. If you have a lot of things like all of the above or B and C but not D, which are common in multiple choice questions, that shuffle, I just wish that shuffle answers option wasn't there. It causes a lot more trouble than it's worth, because the added security it provides is minimal. But that's another discussion. So we've selected the correct answer, and then we just update the question, and that question's in the test now. If I'm lucky enough to have test banks, I can find questions in those test banks. I just happen to have some here. And I can just pick some questions from that test bank and then add them. That's a real nice way to be able to make up a test if you have question banks. You can get those from publishers, sometimes from colleagues. You can create them yourself. Can't go into detail on that, but it's not impossible to find it. I'm not going to talk about question groups. That's too advanced a topic for this particular thing, but this allows you to do what Kathy was describing earlier and set things up so that Canvas actually builds the tests for you. You just tell it, I want so many questions out of this question bank for each student, and it picks them at random and gives each student a different test, which really is an improvement on test security. But however you add those questions into the test, when you're done, you just save the test and publish it probably, make it available to students. And now a student can come and take this quiz online. Here's what it looks like. If I go back home here in my course menu, I can become a student in this course, an actual student, my test student, by clicking where it says Student View. And there's the screencasting quiz. If the student clicks on that quiz, they can take it right online, and they just pick the right answers. Hopefully, I'm just treeing this one, and submit the quiz. If you leave things at the default, they'll immediately see what they got. They'll see the test paper, they'll see their score, and if you've allowed them, they can also see correct answers, though you can turn that off. So I didn't do too well that time, but at least I got feedback. So that's how a quiz works in Canvas. Another type of assessment that you can use in Canvas is the homework assignment. You can add one of those to a module by clicking the plus sign again. You get real used to reaching for that and selecting an assignment. New assignment, give it a name. How about define screencasting? Add the item. Click on it to flesh it out, edit it as we did before. You provide instructions to students. Define the term screencasting. I could make that more detailed, but this will do. I can set the number of points for the assignment. I can tell the Canvas that this is going to be submitted online, because that's the only option we have at this point. And by file upload, maybe in the instructions I'll say upload a Word document with your answer, containing your answer. So I can set that. I can even have it reviewed for plagiarism. I can set a due date and save and publish it. And again, I know I'm ripping through this, but this is just an overview to show you what's possible. Then if I go back to my modules, here's that assignment. If I go to student view by going home and clicking on student view, I can submit that assignment. This tells me about the assignment and what I have to do. When I'm ready, I click ready to do that. I click submit assignment, and it gives me an option to upload a file either from my local computer or from Google Drive. If maybe I use Google Docs to create this, that's fine too. Though that would be disobeying the instruction to upload a Word document, which I might take some points off for. Then I just choose the file as the student, choose the file to upload. I think I have a file of that nature here somewhere. There it is, screencasting definition. It's a Word document. Click open, and then click submit assignment. The student gets a receipt, and they're done with that assignment. Though they can resubmit it as often as they like, and you can't stop them from doing that. Kind of a quirk in Canvas. So that's how a homework assignment works in its simplest form. Discussions are like bulletin boards. Let me show you what one looks like in another course here. I don't have time to create it and populate it with posts here. So let me go to another course briefly. Go back to my dashboard. And this will do. Here's a discussion that I've created in this topic, in this module, by clicking on the plus sign and just going to discussion, selecting discussion, and new topic, giving it a name, and clicking add item. Very similar to how I created everything else in that module. And here's what it looks like when a student or you access it. There's a prompt at the top that the students will reply to that outlines what they're supposed to be discussing. Please post 3 ideas for applications of the tool Camtasia in your field, and reply and comment. And then there's this reply button here. The student just comes in and hits reply, and they get the rich content editor. And discussions can be very rich communication experiences because they've got the full rich content editor. They can type text, but they can also insert pictures, video. They can go to YouTube and find stuff and so on. It's very rich. And then when they're done, they just post the reply. A lot of you are doing this every day in the online faculty certification course right now. And here's how it works. The first student, test 2 student here, replied to my initial prompt here and gave 3 things that you could do in your course with Camtasia. And everybody gets to read that. All the students, all the faculty in the course get to read that. And there's a reply button at the bottom of each post So this other student came along and had a question. So he clicked reply and asked, okay, you said you can put PowerPoint lectures in, narrated PowerPoint lectures. How long can they be? Well, and then the student who posted first can come back and reply to that reply saying, however long you can keep your students interested. And then here's a new post, a reply to my original prompt, and 3 more things that can be done. And then another student had a question. And that student, and the student who posted this replied. These groups of posts are called threads because they're all related to one. They form a discussion thread, a thread of thought that you can follow even if you weren't there when they were posted. You can go back later asynchronously and follow this discussion. So you can get incredibly rich, long discussions, far better than anything you'd ever do in class. And people who won't respond in class, the wallflowers, will turn into lions here and will post and defend their opinions and things like that. It's a wonderful communication tool, as well as being something you can grade. If you set it up as a graded discussion, you can assign a grade for it. So those are your 3 types of assessments. Let me go back to our example course here we were using. There are 3, geez, I got too many courses in there. I got to clean that up. There are 3 types of assessments you can add: quizzes, homework assignments, and graded discussions. And that covers most of the things you'd do in class. Things that students would turn in and quizzes they would take. And an evaluation of class participation, though here, instead of just having to, kind of think, gee, I remember Susie talking a lot, but April over here almost never opened her mouth and so on. But when April said something, you have to make all those value judgments from memory. With this, you have documentary evidence of who's participated, who hasn't, and the quality of everyone's participation makes it real easy to grade class participation that way. So those are your 3 assessment types. The assessments show up in the grade book, which you access by clicking on the grades tool in Canvas. The students have that grades link too, but they only see their own grades. They don't see everybody else's. They don't see a grade book. They just see a list of assessments and the grades they got. But here's this is kind of a real simple grade book because I've got 1 student and 2 assessments in there so far. But the quiz was graded for you, and there's a grade weighting because they were all objective questions. If there were an essay question in there, you would have to go in and grade the essay question. The defined screencasting was an assignment that Canvas can't grade that. Again, once it can do that, they don't need us anymore. Hopefully that'll never happen. But you can grade that by clicking on this little icon that basically says the test student submitted this. So you click on that, hit the right arrow, and go to the speed grader, which is your grading interface. And you see the student's submission, you read it, you give it a grade. It was worth 10 points. That's where the value judgment, that's about 5. You can leave a comment. You can type the comment in. You can record a video comment, or here's my favorite. The definition was okay, period. However, comma, you did not supply any tools or applications for screencasting, so that your definition was somewhat limited. period. Resubmit again for a better grade, period. My particular favorite. That only works if you're using the Chrome web browser on either a PC or a Mac or a Linux machine. You don't even have to type it in. You can speak it, and you'll notice it was darn near perfect. It even got screencasting, which is not even really a word. You don't find it in most dictionaries anyway. So, and then when you're done with the grading, you click submit, and the grade appears back in the grade book. Bing. And when you're done, Canvas averages it for you, weights everything according to the number of points you allowed, and produces a final grade percentage. So no more averaging of grades at the end of the term unless you just want to. All right. Yes.
If you send a verbal grade, will that come out automatically? Because sometimes when I give very detailed answers to a student's assignment, but they don't see it. They see the grade and there's like a little, it looks like a double, it looks like the bubble that you have in a comic book that shows that there's some kind of comment that I've wrote. The students don't seem to notice it. And then I'll notice that, wait a minute.
We can watch, yeah, the student, I'm my test student now instead of me.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to grades, there's that one I just graded.
Right.
And that little icon right there indicates there's a comment.
But they don't seem to notice it. It doesn't come as, do I have to tell them every single time that there are comments?
That brings up, I'm glad you asked that question at this point, because that brings up something I wanted to point out. We do have lots of tutorials for Canvas. There is a Canvas guide, remember those, one of the help button, that shows students how to check their grades and to get their feedback. But we also have a site that we put our own Canvas tutorials in. It's available at SDCCD, SDCCD online video.org. I'll put that in the chat tool. Copy that. And it's in the chat tool. And there are lots of ways to navigate this site, but probably the easiest one is to search for what you want. And student grades would be one possible search. Here's a tutorial that shows what I just showed you, how to check your student grades, or how to check your grades as a student. And it's a screencast, this topic we've been building a course about. And they can watch and they can see me see what you just saw and more. There are other places where students look for feedback, including by just clicking on the name of the thing and viewing feedback, if there is any. I did not do any markup feedback here, so there's nothing really to see here. But this student grades tool requires a little bit of orientation to get the full benefit from it. And that's what that tutorial is there for. And you can put that as a link into your module, into your getting started or introduction module. And here's how to check your grades and how to get the feedback I'm going to send you. Oh, and also there are other things in there, like our recordings of these sessions. At the top of the screen is a menu bar that includes an option, a button for workshop archives. And that's where all of our Zoom sessions are recorded, where the recordings are listed. Here's one from aรื่องdays ago on grading in Canvas. This one will be up there within the next couple of days. But there are many previous Canvas overviews in here. I've got 7 pages of recordings. Let's see where the last overview is. Oh, it's been a while. We were overdue for this session. Oh, there it was. Yeah. It's the last line there. There's the one from April. So, A1 from April. So we've done this session a few times, but this recording will be at the, they're listed chronologically, so it'll be on the first page, the first one you see. If you go in the next day or two, it should be there. You can always go back, fast forward through it, find the section you were especially interested in, and go back over it. And of course, there's just tons of other subjects there too. We've done dozens of these Zoom sessions over the last few months, and almost all of them are archived here. Okay, let me look at my outline here that I showed you earlier and make sure I'm not forgetting something really important. We have just a few minutes left here. Oops, that's the wrong one. Find the right one. Ah, here it is. Communication. We've looked at discussions. You have other asynchronous communication tools in Canvas, however. Perhaps the most frequently used is the announcements tool. This is like posting a note on the door of the classroom. If you add an announcement, you get something that looks like an email. A test will come available. Probably help. And you do have spell check in the rich content editor. That's nice. Here's the link. And you can put a link to an internal item here. You can go to links, quizzes. The only quiz I have in here is this one. So I got to type something here like link to quiz. Highlight it. Click on that screencasting quiz. And I've got the full rich content editor, so I can put video, pictures, YouTube videos. I can even record a little video message for them. But this will do for now. And I can just save that. So when a student comes in and clicks on the announcements tool, they see that I posted this. They can see the announcement by clicking on it. And then if they're ready to take the quiz, they can just click right there and go right to the quiz. That'll make more sense if I go in as my student. For me, it just takes me to the editing where I can edit the quiz, but the student would get the announcement. Click on it and click here and be able to go and take the quiz. Except this student already took the quiz, so I can't take it again. But you can make it possible for students to take quizzes more than once. So an announcement is, and you don't have to send a separate message to everyone. Alternatively, you can use your inbox tool, which is your messaging system in Canvas. You get messages from your students and from other colleagues here, either from all of your courses, or you can select specific courses you want to see messages from. You can also send messages through this. You do have to select the course to which you want to send a message. I'm going to select a course that actually has some test students in it here. You can select recipients by clicking on this little icon, and usually be students. And I can send this to that student and to that student. Or I can send just to one. Put in a subject and a message and click send. And off it goes. It appears in their Canvas mailboxes, their inboxes, but if they have their notification settings set to allow it, which is the default, it will also go to their personal email. And they can reply from there, and it'll come all the way back to your email, your Canvas inbox, and if you've allowed it, to your personal email box. We'll talk, there's another session we do on how to set notifications in Canvas, or what Canvas is allowed to notify you of by email. But Canvas can notify you of a lot of different things by email if you so choose. So this is a great end-to-end communication tool, and it's unlike the announcement, which everyone sees, this is a personal communication tool. Only the people to whom you send these messages see the message. So it's basically email, but it's mostly internal to Canvas rather than going out over the internet, which makes it 100% reliable. If you send students a message through your inbox tool, they will get it, guaranteed. So there's no, oh, I didn't get that. I know you've never heard that. All right, so those are your basic communication capabilities in Canvas. Wanted to make sure you saw that. Let's see. And we've covered most of this. So at this point, I'm going to go and take a look. That's pretty much the nickel tour of Canvas. I know I left out a lot of detail. Hopefully I've given you enough to get started, or at least enough to know what questions you need to ask. You're always welcome to email me and ask those questions. Dave, or to go back and look over this, or other things we have posted online. Yes?
Just a few, on that note, just a few nuts and bolts questions. What is your email again?
That is, I'll put that in there again. dgibberso, no N. They couldn't afford the N when I was hired. dgibberso.
Are you typing it into the chat?
I am typing it into the chat. There it is, down at the bottom of the chat log.
Okay, let me just.
And please feel free to email me. I'm not as not online as much as I was when I was fully employed, but I do try to get back as quickly as I can. And I'll try to make sure it's a meaningful answer.
Okay. And just two other quick nuts and bolts stuff. I know we're running out of time, but
actually, from this point on, we're finished with the primary presentation. I'm just answering questions now, and I will keep answering questions as long as you have them.
These are nuts and bolts stuff, nothing to do with the minutia from.
No, so go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I'm demoting you from your status as high priest of technology to a cow. I'm milking you. You know the Canvas Commons, I think you referred to it, where it had.
Yes.
You know, can we access that to window shop and browse around?
Absolutely. It's in your global access menu that's available on every page in Canvas. This is never hidden from you.
I'm not there yet because I haven't started the training. I haven't initiated it.
But you can log in at any time. Your Canvas account was automatically created.
And so
many moons ago.
So and that once again, so I log into www. You said it before, and I'm sorry.
sdccd.instructure.com, right there at the top.
That's it. sdccd.
No www, just sdccd.instructure.com, and that's in the chat log as well.
Yeah, okay, I just have to remind myself. And one last thing, so I can browse that by just typing in Canvas Commons, or the link to that is?
The link to that is right here.
It's internal.
You have to be logged into Canvas to get to it.
Yeah, but I can do that through the website. I don't have to have gone through the training yet.
Oh, no, certainly not. You
Okay.
can get in and start playing with Canvas anytime. You do not have to even be enrolled in the training to do that.
Uh-huh. And what do we need? Just, again, this is really fundamental. I apologize, but to initiate the training session, same website? To initiate the actual training where you get certified, the 20
yes.
hours plus.
Right. Just go to our Online Learning Pathways website at www.sdccdonline.net.
Oh, you're typing that in.
What?
.net, N-E-T. Good question. Not .com or .edu, but .net. It's a long story. You don't want to hear it. But that will take you here.
Oh, sorry.
Once again?
That will take you here.
Can you put that on the chat, please?
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat. You bet.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I need help, please. Is there a way to raise the hand?
But he's putting,
not so that I can see it really while I'm sharing my screen like this. That's kind of a lack in Canvas, or in Zoom rather.
Okay. I did not.
I tell you what I really want to do at this point, though, is I encourage people to put their questions into the chat tool. So I'm going to take those first, and then I'll be happy to take any other questions that you have. I will not leave as long as you have questions. But let me go back to the chat tool and see what we have in there for those people who have been waiting patiently.
Thank you. You
bet. I have a little bits and pieces in a development shell from long ago in a galaxy far, far away. How can I completely purge the development shell? Use what I'm about to tell you carefully. Make sure you're in the right shell. If you purge the wrong shell, we can't help you. So go to the development shell that you want to purge. I'm going to go, this one's expendable in case I screw up. Go to your settings link in your course menu and select reset course content from the task menu on the right in your settings page. And then you get this big red button. If you click that, it becomes a blank shell. Don't do it unless you mean it. There's no coming back from it. And I'm not going to do that. But that answers that question. Verification, Richard, we have to call the faculty hotline number to get our development shells for the fall semester. Yes. That's how you get development shells. That's the first thing you'll want to have if you're just starting to play with Canvas, whether you are taking the certification course or not. You can call and ask for a development shell for one of your courses, and they will make it for you, and you can start putting content in and start creating quizzes and homework assignments and so on, just for your own edification, if nothing else. All right, how many?
Is that an online thing or a phone number?
That is a phone number. It's under the help button, and it is 844-612-7422. I'll put that in the chat tool.
I have that number, but do you have one for Zoom too? Just
unfortunately not. That would be nice. Getting help with Zoom is a little bit more challenging than it is with Canvas. We pay Canvas a lot. But you can always ask me the question. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. How many weeks, how much time is each of your screencasting modules? It just depends. How much time it takes a student to run through a module is highly variable depending on the student and the nature of the module. I often get that question in relation to the faculty certification course, which is 7 modules, has 7 modules in it. And each module takes varying lengths of time for varying people, or for different people. The world's record in completing that course is 8 hours of work, solid work. The average is probably somewhere between 20 and 30 hours of solid work. You get 20 hours of flex credit.
My question has more to do with what do you expect students to do in a certain amount of time before you, let's say you don't publish week 3 or week 4, how much time do you give students to do what you want them to do?
I'm afraid the answer would pretty much be the same. It depends.
It's the same.
It depends on what, some modules are inherently more time consuming than others.
Okay.
So you have to use your profession. You know your subject matter. You know about how long students, about how long you spend on it in a lecture format. You've got the same 16 weeks probably,
Okay.
or 10 or 8 weeks if it's a half-time course. And you know how much you have to cover each week. So you pretty much extend that to the modules that you give the students that long on the modules. And indeed, as you imply, it is possible to have those modules appear at certain times so that the students don't see them all right off the bat. And that's one way to present the material. Another way is to just give them everything at once and let them work through it at their own speed, with due dates for various assessments and so on, so they can't just linger indefinitely. But that's an endless debate. There are 2 camps about that. Some give them everything at once, some dole it out a little bit over time. And that's very much a personal preference
Thanks.
for you. Good question.
Dave?
Yes.
2 other very quick nuts and bolts questions. If we start the Canvas, training, the certification, right? What's the email again? sdccd.online?
Oh, the web page is www.sdccdonline.net, and there's a faculty link on there, and you can find the information you need there.
Well, that is okay. Yeah. So let's say hypothetically, we're 20 hours in June into our Canvas training. We realize we can't finish by the deadline. Will the work that we have accomplished roll over to the next?
Unfortunately, the word I am hearing is that it will not. So you want to make sure you finish by June 30th.
Okay.
If you start now. Otherwise, you can wait until July 1st, and then you'll have an entire year.
Okay. That's a very, very valuable tip.
Sorry for the whining.
No, please do. I mean.
No, I'm talking about this whining.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's very important, and I was misguided. I thought
that's pretty important to know. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I'm asked, how do I enlarge the screen? Anytime you have a you're in a web browser, you can enlarge your screen display by holding down the Control key on your keyboard labeled CTRL and pressing the plus sign to make it bigger and the minus key to make it smaller. And that's how I did that.
Where's the plus sign?
Dave,
Yes.
are you answering the questions that we sent on
I am
chat
working
or
my
no?
way down I'm working my way down the chat tool right now. Okay, we've got one. After I've uploaded an image, published the page and then checked on a different, oh, we talked about that. Yeah, I said I'd have to see that, all right? How do you see student view? Which of your videos do we watch to create video and caption them? Good questions. Okay, how do I see student view? You go to your home, that's within a course. So you're in a course. To see the course as your students see it, you click the home link in the course menu, and I have to make this a little smaller so you can, so that will show. And then click on student view in the task menu. And now you are seeing the course as the students do rather than as you do. And there are differences, obviously. And then when you're done, you just leave student view and you're back as yourself again very quickly. All right, which of my videos should you watch to create video and caption? Let's go to the online video site. I have to think about that for a minute. For creating video, the easiest way to create video that you're going to upload to YouTube or wherever and caption is with your smartphone. So you could search for smartphone or smartphone video, and you know, none of those are really that useful. We have yet another website for that.
Why is the
In
phone?
order to give a good answer to this, I need a little more time than I have right now. So how about emailing me that question, and I'll send you a series of links to tutorials that will show you how to fulfill that assignment 2.7 in the training course, which is, I got a feeling, what you're asking about. Yes? If a student takes a quiz again and you have turned on question shuffle, will they get the same quiz or a different one? They'll get the, if they take a quiz a second time, they'll get the answers to multiple choice and multiple answer questions in a different order each time. If you're using a question group, if you're having Canvas select the questions randomly, and you allow students to take the test more than once, the student will get a different test each time. And I believe, does this section have a flex number? Yes, it does. Let's see, I've got my email somewhere here, and it's in there. I got it today, as you probably did, from Mary Kingsley. She sends out a blast email to all faculty at least once a week with the schedule for the week of these Zoom sessions. And this one today, oh, right, but we're past right. The end of May, so there is no flex until the fall, until July 1st. So unfortunately, there is no flex number for this class, this particular one. And but now that's about all I can say. If you want to think about it, there's a way to work around that, because we'll offer this session again during the summer, and you could quite legitimately submit your flex credit during the summer for a future session of this course. I'm not like sending in lists of attendees or anything like that. And if you've been through this, it'll be the same basic presentation when I do it again in July, and you can give yourself flex credit then. And I should probably cut that out of the recording, but what the heck. But there is no flex number for this one, I'm sorry. I forgot
You have to be teaching in summer to sign up for Flex?
I don't know. Honestly, I've never had to do Flex. When I was an employee, I was classified, so I didn't have a Flex requirement. So I don't know. You'd have to check with your Flex coordinator on that one. I just honestly don't know.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, that's all the questions that were in the chat tool. So I'll be happy to take more on any topic you wish.
I thought I wrote them anyway.
Yeah.
I am registered for certification, but
Good.
I really don't know where to start. It seems to be a lot of work, and
it is that.
I don't know what to do.
Well, let's get you started, and that's one of the things in your own that you really want to avoid in your own courses.
Okay.
And let me show you how
Okay.
that works in this course.
Thank you.
Let me see, where did I? Yeah, here we are. Here's Canvas.
Sorry taking more of your time, but
Oh, no.
I just don't know what to do, really.
I am very happy to answer questions on any topic at this point, and I'm very happy to keep answering them as long as you have them. That's the deal on this. For you waiting through all this time to get the answer, I will not have I will not quit before no one has any more questions.
Thank you so much.
Okay, here's
and you take late to work. If I start and I know how to do it, do you take the assignments from me or no?
You turn the assignments in the course online.
Yes, right.
And there are a bunch of different people who are getting ready. On June today, we have about 4 or 5 new people coming into this course as graders. They're way behind right now because there are 1,000 people signed up for this term's course.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Okay.
And they're behind in their grading because we're really only 3 people grading for the longest time. But we're more than doubling that, so we hope the grading will go much faster now. But in answer to your question, how do you get started? You go to this training course.
Yeah, I see in this one. Okay.
You should see this tile on your dashboard.
Right.
You should also see a tile for a development shell, a generic development shell that will serve as a practice course to go along with this. Because in this course, you are a student.
Right.
And you'll be asked in some of the activities in this course, you'll be asked to do things that you have to be a teacher in the course to do. So you can't do it in this shell. You need a practice course, so it's sometimes called, to go over and do that in and then report back to this course. So you'll also need that development shell. And that will appear on your dashboard as well when you're enrolled. You should already have.
Yes.
But to get started here, basically you just read the announcements and read this page.
I made a copy of everything right there.
Good.
Yes,
and
but I don't know which important, what's not, and where to start. And I know there is something called, the first one is to write a paragraph about like welcome or something.
But right here it tells you, read the announcements and it gives you a link to them.
Okay.
Read the welcome letter and it gives you a link to that.
I read that, yes.
Good. Read the syllabus, it gives you a link to that. But here's begin. And this link right here will take you, remember those modules that we just created?
Right. So many of them.
This will take you to the first module. And here you are. You start here.
Okay.
The overview. Click on that. Read that. And they try to keep them fairly bite-sized so that no one page is too much reading. And then you click next.
And I seen also some kind of comments, and I printed that pages and pages. Do I need all those?
No, all you need is this right here.
Okay. Okay.
The whole course is in 7 modules. You start at
7.
the top of module 1.
Okay.
And you keep, then you go on to module, you won't see module 2 until you complete module 1.
Oh.
And that's something you can set up in your own courses to have it, people to force your students to finish one module before starting the next.
Right, right.
But then you'll see module 2, you work through that one after,
Okay.
top to bottom. Module 3, 4, 5, just keep going downward. 6, and then module 7 is a little bitty one.
How long do you think,
Mm-hmm.
how long you think is going to take? Especially, I'm not an expert. I'm just barely. I used Canvas and Zoom for the semester. Sometimes I did well.
Right.
Sometimes, you know. So
Well, actually,
how long
then
is it going to take me?
a lot of this will be familiar then. The official estimate is 20 hours. Realistically, probably 20 to 30 hours. And people
For
have
me,
taken
maybe
longer.
50 to 60, and I'm ready
People
for
have
it.
taken longer. It just depends. There's so many factors involved in that, but hopefully not 50 or 60.
I'm ready for it. I have nothing in the summer. I can travel anywhere. So
very good.
This is my goal.
But that's how you get started. You just click on that link. You can either
Okay.
click on that link to module 1 on the home page.
Okay.
Right, whoop, there it is right there. Or you can just go over here to where it says modules and click on that. And that will take you to the same place, just like we saw in our session today. And you just work your way down those modules, one after in order. And when you get to the bottom, you're done.
Okay. Okay.
You can also sign up for the buddy system if that helps you. Yusra, is that how your name is pronounced?
Yusra, yes.
Yusra, yes. Because there's a buddy system. I don't know how it works, but you might want to sign up for that and work with someone.
With somebody?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Ask
I don't
your
know if that's how it works, but is
I
anyone?
don't know how many. I don't know people. Professors who's.
Apparently, they set you up. It's like you don't. I don't know if it's like Match.com or something, but.
Really, Mazda? I'm ready to work with Mazda.
Because apparently they arrange the matches for you, so it's not like you get to select.
Oh, really?
And you can always ask questions of me. I have 2 questions in my email right now from people who are I'm at this point and I'm having this problem.
Yeah, I asked Professor Pato. And one more question. Does Canvas work with different language? How is going to grade my test if there is no Arabic in it? How is this, you said there is, if we put the test, it will grade itself? How is this?
The quizzes in this, in the training course are all objective quizzes. So Canvas can grade them all. So as soon as you submit the quiz, you'll get a grade.
There's no ABC. There's no ABCs. There is no true or false. It's all of it, in its writing.
Well, no, there are some that are, the quizzes are, let me preview this. Like this is the first quiz. This is just a practice quiz, really, but they're all objective.
For this, yes. But how about if us, as professors of a language, how can we have a quiz with different language?
Well, you can import text from some other source and just cut and paste it. Correct?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So yes, you can
be in English,
and you can type, of course, in basic Latin script, Latin text, any language. But probably the easiest way to do it is to do just what was suggested there, to take typed text that you've already created in Word or some more sophisticated text editor and paste it into, either upload the files directly or paste it into the text editor in Canvas.
Yeah, most word
Unfortunately, the
processors-
text editor in Canvas doesn't have multi-language, doesn't have good multi-language capability, but there is something you can do, or your students can do with a Canvas page. Let me take you to a page here in this course, for instance.
I've been spending so many hours correcting, because sometimes they send it back to me. They take pictures and they send it back to me, and I have to open each one and grade it. Believe me, the work used to take us maybe 2.5 hours in the classroom. It takes triple the time. Why? We don't have TAs, and we have to do all this by ourselves. So
well, I can't speak to the aides, but typically the grading process in the speed grader is pretty streamlined. I mean, it's the same thing you do on paper. You get the text, you evaluate it, you get a number, and you give some feedback.
Professor, when you have more than 100 students.
Oh yes. Well, if you have more than 100 students, it's going to take time. Yeah,
my eyes, I can't see anymore.
I do understand. But something that you and your students can do in a Canvas page that's pretty neat is use the Microsoft Immersive Reader, and this is available with any Canvas page. Okay. This is one of the reasons you might want to use pages for your content instead of files that you create offline. Because I can go to the Immersive Reader, and it can read the page for me.
OFCP Rainbow Cube header. Welcome. Welcome to the Online Faculty Certification Program at SDCCD.
Okay, that's helpful in itself, but not nearly as helpful as this. If you go to Reading Preferences in the Reader, and select Translate the document.
Casa. Encabezado del cubo del arco iris OFCP.
That's Spanish.
Bienvenido.
Okay.
Bienvenido al programa de certificación.
It's like all machine translation, it's not fully idiomatic and it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So your students can, if you present something in English and they're native Spanish speakers, they can do this if it's in a page.
I don't know about Arabic.
I don't know. Let's see what the options are.
Okay, see if there is Arabic.
Let's see.
It's supposed to be the first
language. Quite a few options.
Wow. Okay, that's something new.
Egyptian Arabic or Saudi Arabic?
It's supposed to be standard, but Saudi is closest to the standard. Yes, Saudi.
Afrikaans. I mean,
no, play it.
Really pretty cool. This is, I think, my favorite toy in Canvas.
I think she wants you to play it.
Please. Yeah, play it.
In
the Saudi.
And then you can tell us how accurate it is.
Okay.
SDCCD. Thank you for joining this exciting learning experience.
I think I did the wrong thing there. Just a second. Translate the document. There we go. Right there it is.
Oh, wow. شكرا لك على الانضمام إلى هذه التجربة التعليمية المثيرة.
رأس المكعب قوس قزح. أهلا وسهلا. مرحبا بكم في برنامج شهادة الكلية على الإنترنت.
واو, excellent.
شكرا لك على الانضمام إلى هذه التجربة.
How is it?
It's excellent. Yes.
Oh my God, that's fascinating. Thank you for bringing that up. I've never tried Arabic.
And we are from right to left.
Of course, yeah. And bottom to top, yeah.
Wow.
Fascinating.
It is.
Thank you very much for your feedback on that. I will use that later. Anyway.
Thank you for showing us. I'm really very impressed. Thank you.
That's a Microsoft product that Canvas has licensed and is using, and made it available to us for free. So it's pretty cool.
Yes.
And there are other things you could. It helps students with learning disabilities and with difficulty with languages, with the English, and is really quite a powerful tool. I wish that sort of thing was built into the content editor so you could enter text in Arabic efficiently and things like that. I don't think that that's quite there yet, but
you said it's
okay.
A page, but is that something all of us, like if we have a student whose English is not their first language, with our syllabus, they can read our syllabus from that language?
Yeah,
or
if you put your syllabus into a page.
Okay.
So what you do is take your Word document probably and create a page.
Okay.
In Canvas. Okay, and create a new page. And great question. And then let's see, I have my syllabus here somewhere. Let me see. My syllabus is fairly simple, so it's going to be, well, let me use the outline for this session. I'm just copying that off of Google Docs and pasting it in. And saving it. Obviously, the formatting's not great, but for the reader, it doesn't really care. Go to Immersive Reader.
Yeah, do the Arabic and you can say if it's good.
And I can, let's try Bulgarian. Cyrillic, no less. And
Учебна програма. Междинно увеличение. Стаи за почивка. Създаване на пробивни стаи. Автоматично.
I guess.
I have no idea.
The only person I know who's ever been to Bulgaria is my wife, and she doesn't speak Bulgarian. So.
2 semesters ago, I had a student who's Bulgarian. Too bad he's not here.
Too bad. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, your syllabus could be translated, and the student gets to pick which language. So they can pick, you put it in English, and they can pick whatever language they want it converted to, and it will read it to them.
Okay,
in that language, and of course show it to them in that language as well.
Okay, so if I have it as a link in my homepage, when they open that link, as long as it's a page, it's written as a separate
Canvas page, they'll have that. They will have that immersive reader button in the upper right-hand corner.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Excellent.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just amazed that it handled Arabic.
Oh yes. So, and it's excellent. It's not just any Arabic. It's the right standard Arabic, because the Egyptian is different dialect.
Yeah, and among many, but I guess the Saudi is the closest to the classic.
Yes, the Bedouins.
I mean, it's like in the library, they do have American English, British English, and Australian English.
Yes.
So that,
yeah. Yes.
Yes. Students get a kick out of
George
it.
Bernard Shaw, who described the U.S. and Britain as 2 countries separated by a common language. Okay. How about another question?
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. And it's nice to be home and do classes online, especially for our, our babies here. But I'm thinking about when going back to the class, what's going to happen, because they got used to us being at home most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I'd say probably that a lot more traditional classroom courses will use the distance education tools that we've had to learn, like Zoom and Canvas. There's no reason you can't teach in the classroom and use these tools.
Oh, yes.
I've used both.
Yeah, and
That's called
I got
blended
this
learning.
one, and I got this one for teaching.
Wonderful.
Instead of the phone, my shoulder hurts just holding the phone and writing at the same time.
Indeed.
So I just got this one, and it's excellent. I really feel comfortable using it.
Wonderful. So I think this is going to change higher education a lot. And numerous research studies have shown that blending elements of online and face-to-face learning produces the better learning experience than either face-to-face or online alone.
Yeah, but
so in the long run, this has the potential to improve our teaching in higher education. So we'll hope that the end result of this is a better experience for the students rather than
some subjects.
And we can teach overseas because I have only thing is different time zone.
Certainly some subjects can't be taught fully online.
Right.
But all of them can benefit from some online component.
That's true. That's true.
And so, this may be a positive thing in the long run, because I hope so, because it's certainly not real positive in the short run for anybody to have to do this without warning.
Yes.
Without ever having contemplated doing it. I know that's been tough. And that's why that's why we're offering these sessions, 2 or 3 a week, and lots of other stuff as well, because we know you need as much. Pardon?
Our next session is tomorrow, same time.
That's a good question.
There's tomorrow.
There's I don't. Tomorrow. There's one.
Adding videos. Oh,
my next one is Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 to 12, and it is an open lab on the online faculty certification course.
Ooh,
where I will answer any questions that you have, including how do you do assignment 2.7 in the training course. And I'll work through it and show you how to do it.
Professor Dave,
who's
going to be doing this session tomorrow at 2 to 4?
Yes, one
about the video.
Oh my God, I'm a day behind. I'm a day ahead. Yeah. That's right. There is one tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Adding video to your Canvas course.
I'll be there. I'll be there to see it.
I'll tell you what the frightening thing about that is. I'm the one who's doing it.
We like it. We like it. That's why I'm asking. So tomorrow, the same time.
What can I tell you? This here didn't come out of a bottle. I earned it the hard way. Senior moment. Yeah, I'll be there at 2 o'clock tomorrow, same place, showing you how to add video. Though, quite frankly, I already showed you a little bit of that today.
Yeah.
But I'll go into a lot more
we can put songs and things like this for our students, like cultural stuff, so they can see it.
Yes.
Oh.
And there's like a copyrighted or not copyrighted approved. That's the right word.
Well, if you create the video yourself or use it from an open website like YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, you don't have to worry about copyright. That's somebody else's. If you create it yourself, it's yours. You own the copyright.
Self-copyright. Music, though.
Yeah. But if you use it from YouTube or whatever, YouTube is the one who has to worry about the copyright, not you.
Because they say share. They say share or copy. So what's,
It's about
if something is available on a public website,
Yes.
You may use it in your course.
Okay. Okay.
It's about making money. If you're using stuff for commercial purposes, then they care. For educational purposes, they don't care.
Well, unfortunately, you can't depend on that. Some people do care. And
well, it depends on what materials you're talking about.
Exactly, and who the copyright holder is. But legally, we can't just say, well, since it's for education,
right?
We can use anything we want, any way we want. That is definitely not
what
true.
Everyone cares about
that will get
money.
You sued.
Okay.
But if you use something if you display something from a public website where there's no login or paywall, you can be pretty confident that you're not going to have any problems.
Okay. Like things on Facebook. You know, you can, they have songs, and you just click and you hear the song. So what's the difference?
Well, the problem there is that has been posted by individuals who may or may not have had the right to post that.
Stole
it. That's a very Anglo-Saxon way of putting it, yes.
But it's already for public to see. And to hear.
Somebody else did it, not the owner. He didn't.
Right, but it still doesn't mean that you can use it in your course.
Right.
But if you find it on YouTube, which is a highly regulated website, you can be confident that it is available for public display and that you don't have to worry about any copyright issues in showing that video or listening to that audio from YouTube. And if there is a problem, they're going to go after YouTube, not after you.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
I don't know those techniques.
But you don't take your copy of Snow White from Disney and copy something out of that and put it in your course unless you want to run the risk of Disney calling. Disney is ferocious in its defense of its copyrights, and they will come after you. And if should one of your students mention that, and maybe one of their relatives works for Disney, next thing you know, you could get an email or a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, we'd like your licensing fee for that. Here's a bill for $5,000." Or cease and desist, and since you violated our copyright, we want $35,000, which is the maximum award for a single instance of copyright infringement. So you always want to be careful.
You think if I, because I did something, but I don't know if it's illegal. I took my daughter's graduation pictures, and there is a song.
Belongs to you.
Huh?
That belongs to you. You got self-copyright.
Yes, but I took a song that goes with the pictures, and I did. Did I commit any kind of? Illegal stuff here?
Possibly.
Really?
Yep. If it's a copyrighted work of music that you don't have specific license permission to use, that is theoretically at least a copyright violation, unless the music were in the public domain.
It is. I just
like old songs.
Yeah. If it's a modern song, chances are it's not in the public domain.
Right.
No, it's not.
And even if it's a classical piece, the performance of it may be copyrighted.
Even the Happy Birthday song's copyrighted.
It is.
For example, something like this. I'm just going to show you. Where is it? Just like this. But there is a song that went with the. I don't know.
If it's in the background, they're not going to care.
I tell you what, I've just gotten another question in the chat tool here that I'd like to address. For art teachers, can students send photos of their artwork as answers to test questions? Yes, that is possible. There's a question type in Canvas called, let me find Canvas again here. Oop, that's my shopping. We don't need to see that. Where'd Canvas go? What did I do with it? Here, this will do. You can make a quiz in Canvas.
Okay.
And create a question called a file upload question. And your instruction would be something like upload your artwork as a, and then you put that question in the test and save the test. And when a student clicks on that question, they get a choose a file box. And they can click that, and then they can upload their artwork as a file from their local computer, and then you will see, as the instructor, you will see it when you grade the test. So yeah, that's quite possible. You can also make that a homework assignment, and they can upload their artwork to the homework assignment, and you can bring that up in the speed grader, and you can even annotate it, draw circles around parts of it and draw arrows and make comments about it and so on. So yes, there's not much that you can do if a student hands in something on paper in the classroom that you can't do in Canvas in the way of grading. Indeed, you can do things in Canvas you have a hard time doing on paper. So it's quite interesting.
But if we show a film in the classroom, we're allowed to do that even though it's copyrighted. Yes. But because it's on Canvas or Zoom, we're not allowed to do it?
That is correct.
So if
legally, no. That was an exception written into the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1997, okay. I think it was, that content creators didn't want you to be able to show it in your classroom unless you bought a performance license for it, which is quite a bit more expensive than buying the DVD. But they compromised, saying, okay, it's all right in a physical classroom, but if it gets online, we'll lose all control over it. So you can't do the same thing online, even though virtual classrooms, the only ones we have now for the immediate future. But the Copyright Act still applies. It's not legal to take like a DVD that you own and share it over through a Zoom meeting.
Oh.
Okay.
So are they ever likely to find out you did that? No.
Oh, students will snitch in a minute.
But if a student, like I say, I have heard of circumstances where that's happened, where somebody has shared something belonging to Disney specifically in a Zoom meeting or put it online, and one of their students' parents work for Disney.
Ooh.
And boom,
yeah.
a public library somewhere in Missouri, I think, got nailed to the wall on that. They had used Disney something in one of their community outreach sessions, and they just got nailed to the wall. Disney took them to the cleaners.
So
you got to be careful.
I just want to show you this one. Do you think I did something wrong? Because I don't want to do it again.
Well, don't do it.
Like this. The pictures are mine.
Yeah.
The pictures are mine, but the sound is not.
The music is not. The music is not.
Oh, okay. That's all.
And obviously that's online, or you wouldn't be playing it through your phone. So.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I just took the song and I put her pictures.
Yeah. Legally, yes, that is copyright infringement, probably. I'm not a copyright lawyer, so I'll not make absolute judgments. And indeed, even copyright lawyers can't tell you for sure whether something you did is a copyright infringement. Copyright law is written or is made case by case. So it's whatever a jury or a judge thinks it is.
Okay.
But generally, that would probably be a copyright violation. Are you likely to get in trouble for it? Very unlikely.
But this is old song.
But it could
not
happen.
Something new.
And ignorance or intent are not a defense. I didn't mean to, or I didn't know that was wrong, will not get you out of trouble necessarily.
Oh, okay.
So we have to get our library to purchase the video for us, and then we can use it in the classroom online.
No.
Depends on what they purchase.
Okay.
If they purchase the online license that allows you to post it online, yes, you're okay. If the library buys a DVD, which does probably not come with an online display license,
Who owns it?
then no, you can't use it online. That's why you want to use if you're going to use video from that's not on YouTube or some public site like that where it's copy, or TED or something like that where it's copyright safe, you would want to use sources like Films on Demand, which all the college libraries subscribe to, which is allowed. Those videos are allowed to be used online. They specifically bought the rights to that. But I need to demonstrate that, I need to find a course. There it is. This course is in the Mesa sub account, so it has access to this. If I go to Pages and make a page, under this little symbol here, External Tools, I can go to Films on Demand. And this will be the case for your courses at each of the colleges. I don't know if Continuing Ed has access to this or not, but you can go to Films on Demand and you can search for a keyword like chemistry, my subject, once upon a time. And these are all high quality instructional videos for chemistry.
Yeah.
And you can embed these into your Canvas page, or into your Canvas page, and share them with your students legally, because those fees have been paid. And there's also a resource called, I can never remember it, that has feature films in it that each of the libraries have. And senior moment. It can be used, you can use those online too. There's about 300 feature films in there. I'll think of the name of it in a minute. Ask your librarian.
Is it Vimeo? Is it
No,
Vimeo?
it's not Vimeo. It's, I can't believe I can't remember that. I'm sorry. But there are resources that you can use safely, where the right to use the videos online has been purchased probably by the library. But you just buying a DVD and ripping the video off of it and putting it onto Canvas is not legal, clearly. You probably get away with it, but you might not.
It's kind of hard to tell students.
I'm just being as frank as I can be here.
Yeah.
But anything on YouTube, for example, the alphabets, the song for the alphabets, we can put it in our,
Yes.
on Canvas. Okay.
That I feel comfortable in saying. If you find something on YouTube that you want to use, that you want to embed into your Canvas course, you can do that safely. Because YouTube does not allow people to post copyrighted video except an occasional snippet for criticism or parody or whatever is allowed under fair use and copyright law. But no, they won't let people post anything on YouTube that would get you into trouble.
Okay.
And they are very good at detecting that.
Thank you.
If someone posts something that's copyrighted to YouTube that's commercial, they'll flag it immediately and take it down. And speak sternly to the person who posted it, even if it was inadvertent. You probably don't have to wonder how I know that. Sternly, I would say, sternly. They threatened to delete my YouTube account.
Oh. Well, they did do that to USIU. They went and erased their entire library.
Yes.
Violation.
They can do that.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but the way people described it, I felt I could. They come in with these big magnets, and they had they videotaped the Watergate hearings and kept it on file for students to study, because that's something you just don't have access to. You can't find that on YouTube. You can't find that on TED Talk.
Right.
But because it was copyrighted, but even though it's like the 1970s, they went in and just erased everything.
Wow. Wow.
And had $100,000 fine.
Yep.
Thank you for this legal.
Those sorts of things are rare,
legal
but they do happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, they made an example.
Okay.
Anyway, tomorrow you know the name of that video place, that the 300 that you talked about? That's your homework. The ones you
yes. I'll think of that. I'll have to email Sandra Pesci. She keeps telling me, and I keep forgetting it. But yeah, that is a wonderful resource. But for instructional video, Films on Demand is an amazing resource, and you do have access to that right from within the Canvas rich content editor.
That's that V shape?
Yeah, the little V.
Okay.
And we'll cover that in the adding video course tomorrow.
Do we have those on ours too?
All three.
Everything
colleges.
on the top?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Right there.
Because I never seen the V.
It will be there if in your live shells. Yeah.
Oh.
And
okay.
if they're working on fixing it so that your development shells are also in the right sub account so that you can see things like this.
Okay.
You didn't see that in my demonstration shells before because they're in another area of Canvas. But this is in the Mesa area. It could be Miramar City, but you would see that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
How about you're most welcome. Anybody else have any more Canvas questions or anything else?
We'll be with you tomorrow. We really enjoy this. Today I learned a lot, and I hope I will start on the certification. Thank you.
You said things can be saved in the chat, but where does it get saved?
I'm sorry, where does what get saved?
A lot of times you said go to the chat room, and I know there's the ellipsis is where you can see things, but where does it save it? Because I tried copying and pasting it. Does it automatically save it on my computer?
It will automatically save it to your computer. It goes to, let me find my, there it is. Sorry. It goes to, if on a PC, it will go to your documents library.
Okay.
And on a Mac, it would go to the documents folder in your Finder. And there'll be a subfolder called Zoom.
Okay, I've seen it.
Automatically created. You open that up, and then there's a bunch of different, you have a subfolder for every Zoom presentation you've saved stuff from or that you've given and recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And each subfolder here, subfolder, is dated and timed. Like here's the one for today. June 1st, 2020. It started at just before 2 o'clock, 24-hour time, just before 1400. So if I open that, there's when I saved that chat earlier, there it is.
Okay, I just clicked Save Chat, so it should show up there. Oh, I can't minimize
it. Will show up there.
All right. I just want to make sure. All right, thanks, Steve. I'll see you tomorrow.
You bet.
Because I don't want to, so technically if I have something I think is really important, I should get the school to purchase it.
Well, even then, you may not be able to use it online.
So I'll say, go to the movie theater.
Get a Netflix subscription. Yeah, it can be very challenging. But that feature film database has a lot of stuff in it. And I will think of the name of it. Email me and remind me. Will you remind me to ask, and I'll get that for you and send it to you.
Okay.
Cannot.
See, Professor Dave, I'm very interested. I made even copies with everything, even, everything.
Oh, yeah.
I made copies. I just don't know how, the thing, I didn't know how to start, but thank you so much. I think tonight I'm going to, I have all the modules, the syllabus, everything. I just didn't know how
to. That tells you something. When you create your own Canvas shells, make sure your students know where to start.
Yeah, I have.
And make it
everything
in big letters. Start here.
Thank you so much. I think I'll start.
You are certainly welcome.
Yeah, everything right here. Everything. So I'll start. Thank you.
You are certainly welcome. Take care.
Have a nice afternoon. Thank you so much.
You too. Thanks. You too. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Kathy, you done?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find how to get out. I'm so used to doing it at the.
I'll stop it here in a second, not to worry.
Okay, thank you. It's like, I should know this. Oh, there it is. Okay.
The leave button is that. Yeah, it was hard to find. It was in that little bar at the top of the screen.
Yeah, I know it's in the corner.